I'm just silent.
Hello. So, please give us comments. We can't see the comments, but Will tell us if you're commenting.
Hopefully people can hear us.
And if you can't hear us, then you have to go in and leave a comment, and Will tell us. And if we have to restart it, we will. But thanks for joining us. And hi, Brittany. Hi, Mary Alice. Now I can see a couple, but now as we start playing, we won't be able to read those comments.
Okay.
So glad to have you here.
I am ready. My iPad is silent. Yay, we have people.
Oh, well, we'll open up with the same tune we did for our broadcast test.
Yes, this is the same tune we used for our test piece, but we'll get to play the whole thing.
And Mary gets to introduce it.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is called Josephine's Waltz.
Josephine's Waltz by Roger Talroth. Tell a little bit about who wrote it. Roger Talroth is from the Swedish band Vasen, V-A-S-E-N, You can look them up. And the arrangement is meant to sound like a hurdy-gurdy. So those droning sounds
That would be me.
are supposed to sound like that cranked hurdy-gurdy. Okay. Well, there's a variety of kinds of tunes that we're going to do here. I think Mary's going to introduce this one. It's one that I wrote, but she wants to tell the story because she likes this one.
So Charles has undertaken a project of writing a bunch of tunes, a lot of fiddle tunes. He'll tell you more about them. Often they are dedicated to someone. This particular tune is called The Egg Poacher, and it is all about our dog Coda. And the story behind it is that on the Saturday morning that Will got up to go take his SATs a couple of years ago, Charles got up to make him breakfast, and he made him a couple of poached eggs. And so there were extra poached eggs, and I slept in. And so Charles came back upstairs and said to me, there are a few poached eggs for you down on the table that are left over. So I went down to breakfast, and there were no poached eggs on the table. And I said, what table are you talking about? And he said, the dining room table. And I looked, and there was an empty plate, and then there was a dog who looked pretty happy. And Coda had consumed 2 poached eggs, and that's the only time ever that she's gone up and helped herself. But I think she felt like everyone had left the room, so she was helping us out by clearing the table. So
here's the egg
this
poacher.
is called The Egg Poacher. 2 times, repeats both
Sure.
times.
Yep. Ready.
What's that?
Are you recording?
Are we recording?
Yes.
We will try. So this should be available tomorrow. It shouldn't, it should be, it should stay on Facebook on this page for a couple of days. So we'll see.
Okay. The tunes that I've written are usually pretty short, so the cycle, the way that we're playing them is usually an AABB form. That's a traditional fiddle tune. It's like 8 bars repeated each section. And then we'll play the whole tune through twice as well. Otherwise, they're just too short. So you can hear that structure. A few bars repeated, a few bars repeated, and then the whole thing repeated. Anyway, so they're a little bit like musical limericks. They're not symphonies or anything like that. These are just little tunes that are like my musical limericks dedicated to various people. This tune is called the Cobb House Jig. So last summer on our vacation, for a couple of days we stayed at Pine Lake where Will was interning or working, sort of a resort area. And we rented this cob house, which had been built by college students. It was made of basically mud and straw, I think kind of like adobe. It was beautiful inside, very cute. It reminded me a lot of like something from The Hobbit. But anyway, one morning while we were there in the Cobb House, I sat down and I wrote this little tune called the Cobb House Jig. And when Mary played it, it made me laugh because she made the part sound funny. So I liked that. So here's the Cobb House Jig.
Well, wait, do Worcester too.
Oh, okay. So this is sort of a will tune because it's about the Cobb House, which is at Hartwick College. The tune we'll play after that, and we're going to leave some space in between them. But the tune we'll play after that is called Worcester's Day Strathspey. A strathspey is a Scottish dance. It has this do-do kind of feel to it. It's a Scottish snap. And Worcester, W-O-O-S-T-E-R.
Pronounced Worcester.
Not Worcester. It's not a rooster.
It's a Worcester.
Our younger son Patrick, who's a senior in high school, has accepted entrance to the College of Worcester in Ohio. And so on one of the days there, a few weeks ago, when we were touring the campus, I wrote this tune.
It was
called Worcester's Day.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It was not a few weeks ago. It was way back in February, before when we were still allowed to move.
Yes, way before the quarantine.
Just to be clear.
And writing a strathspey, by the way, is a challenge because it's a very different kind of tune. So I actually had to ask some of my Scottish friends, does this sound like a strathspey? And I got confirmation that it did. Okay, so the first one is a jig. Here we go, Cobb House Jig, and then Worcester's Day Strathspey.
Normal.
Here we go, 1, 2, 2, here we go. Cobb House Jig. Okay. Oh, I put them out of order. I have to go backwards. Here we go. Worcester's Day Strathspey. We'll just play this one through one time.
With repeat. Okay.
1, 2, here. And, sorry, let me give a pickup. 1, 2, 3. Not most strathspeys end with a little vibrato. I'll have to change that.
Sorry.
That was me.
All right. What's next?
High reel set.
Okay.
So we've gotten a number of what we would call sort of choice arrangements for fiddle and cello. This is one of the things that we like. This is a more technically challenging one. So this is called the High Reel set. It's a combination, it's a smashed set, 3 different tunes put together. And the arrangers, Alistair Fraser and Natalie Haas, are well known in the traditional music community, especially Scottish music, for their fine work. They did this arrangement and then we've learned it. We've played this in public a couple of times, and then, what should I say? We haven't played it for a while.
We played it in March at our very last public performance before quarantine on March 10th for sort of a St. Patrick's Day Celtic kind of concert. To quote one of my students when she looked at a new piece this week, "Wow, that's a lot of notes." So that's my comment for this piece.
And my take on it is, I get most of the melody, but if I look at Mary's music, Mary gets a lot of the complexity.
You should say, "Wow, that's a lot of notes."
Yeah, wow, that's a lot of notes. Okay, so here we go. It's called the High Reel set. The 3 tunes are the Hut on Staffin Island, the Barrowburn Reel, and the High Reel. If you look up on Google Maps, if you look up Staffin Island, it's this little itty-bitty island just off the island of Skye, off the coast of Scotland. And there is exactly 1 hut on that one little island. So the hut on Staffin Island is very specific. And the cattle swim across the channel to get to the island. So think cattle swimming across the ocean.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Okay, for the Barrowburn Reel. This is sort of a barn burner set in a while. We'll go fast in a bit. Okay, here we go.
me up next? The Bach next?
Oh, let's see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, part of this concert, we wanted to.
I'm going to go read comments while you're playing.
Okay. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about stuff that we have missed because of the on pause, stay at home, quarantine.
Hi, Tom.
However you want to.
Hi, Greg.
However you want to label this particular time period. So a lot of the performances that we had between when this started and right now is that we missed all of our Easter things. And often at Easter on Good Friday, I will play at Nathan's church, and this movement of a solo Bach suite is something I play often on Good Friday. It also was supposed to be on a recital that has been postponed, that was with my friends Greg and Amanda. That was supposed to be on March 15th. And if Molly's listening, I think I played it at her wedding, maybe. Molly, I can't remember. So this is kind of a special piece. We're sort of going backwards from the ridiculous to the sublime. Coda is just making herself known.
Was that Coda at the door?
Yeah, Coda's at the door. So, this is a shout out to a lot of people, and especially to my college buddies, as this takes me back to college.
I'm going to get out of the video.
One of them is a first responder on the front line, so shout out to Sharon too. Also, I'm going to take a minute to just explain. There's a donate button on the screen. This is not a great, there's a lot of fun fundraising that we would normally do that's just not appropriate right now. So if you feel compelled, that's great. If you felt obligated, that would break my heart. No one should feel obligated. Right now our obligations are with our family and keeping each other and ourselves safe. So that being said, I work pretty hard as a volunteer, digging my brain into research for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So I'm all about research, and the research that is being done for autoimmune is overlapping a little bit with the COVID stuff. So that's worthwhile information. So without further ado, this is a movement of Bach. I'll go ahead and introduce the next piece. Will, are you standing out there?
Yeah.
So another thing we would do,
Code is right here, just so you know.
that's fine. Another thing we would do during Easter is maybe during, especially at Easter Vigil, at times when the choir is busy, we would play a little interlude. And one of those interludes that we often played is the Largo by Handel. And we have a guest here because we have a trio arrangement of this. So Will, who's now a sophomore at college, Hartwick College, studying sustainability, he agreed to fill in with us. We've played this piece at many churches, so hope you like it. This is the Largo from Xerxes by Handel.
Do a quick check of tuning, just play your strings. I think we're probably good.
All right, you got your mic on?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Will.
No problem.
So Will is monitoring the comments.
If you heard the door open several times,
Yes, that was what.
it was me, because I saw a comment that was a question that that needed to be addressed.
So we have one more in our Easter set. So Will is studying sustainability, by the way, environmental stuff, basically. Patrick did have a piece picked out to play with us, but it had a complicated piano part that Charles and I need a little bit of time to figure out how to reduce the piano part to a string duo. We have one more Easter thing. It was a little hard to pick out an Easter hymn that sounded okay without the words. So we zeroed in on Morning Has Broken. If you're not into thinking about Easter, then think about Cat Stevens.
Let's see. Are you going to lead this first time through, or am I?
We doing twice through?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll lead. twice through. So feel free to sing along if you know the words to this Easter hymn. Uh, Okie dokie.
Okay.
All right. I think we have some Charles May tunes next.
Yeah, some original tunes from me. So you've heard nice arrangements and maybe some fiddle or maybe some tunes you recognize. So now for something completely different. Each of these tunes was written for one particular person. So I will mention at least a little bit about some of them, hoping not to embarrass anybody. Most of these tunes have been played in public maybe once. Mary and I have played them together maybe twice. So we're not all that refined on them because they're
stop.
brand new tunes.
I'm very refined. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
I'm not, but you
I'm
are.
wearing my classic pearl.
Okay. This first tune was actually written for my mom, for Dorothy May. And it's a fiddle tune. It moves fast. It's in A major. Let's see, it's in A mixolydian to be correct. It's called The Tune Button. And my mom has this feature where if you mention any aspect of any tune, she remembers all the words and immediately bursts into song. So she's probably doing that right now.
It's a lovely thing.
When I played this tune for her the first time, she immediately shouted out a tune from the 1950s musical, Plain and Fancy, which one of the songs, the first three notes reminded her of that.
Yes, and I have learned well.
You Can't Miss It was the song she said it reminded her of.
Right, but I have learned well from Dorothy because I shout out Hamilton songs now.
Yes, she does. Okay, so The Tune Button, Dorothy May.
Twice with repeats.
Yes.
Songs?
1, 2, here we go.
Yay!
The Tune Button.
Dwayne next.
Okay, yeah, this next tune, I don't...
Happy
Dwayne-
birthday, Dwayne!
Yes, happy birthday, Dwayne.
Happy birthday, Tom, too, a day late.
This next tune I named after Dwayne, who was a friend of ours that we would... He's actually a very inspirational speaker that we still get inspiration from.
and I saw him walking on the Montour Trail so many times with this great big smile on his face, and it just reminded me of being content while walking in nature. So I named this tune for him. This is Dwayne's Stroll, and it has a little bit of a calypso beat to it.
Because the Montour Trail is so very calypso.
Yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Dwayne's Stroll.
All right. What's next? Hall of Fame?
I was debating whether to tell you this, but people are making Mayday jokes.
Mayday
I-
jokes.
I wanna know-
Mayday.
Good.
I
That's
want to
good.
know if you have anything
We should have
special.
come up with a list of jokes.
Mayday jokes. Hey, listen. My big shout out. If you want some really good jokes, look
Don't
up.
listen to me.
No. Look up Pluto Living. Pluto Living. He's a little dog from Canada, and the dog will say, he's a little dog from the Canada lands. Not the Edmonton Canada lands, but the Montreal, Quebec Canada lands. The little dog has really good advice for quarantining and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So he's got some really good jokes. But that's my shout out for
Code has
Pluto.
been making us laugh through this quarantine. So
Coda
it's
has some
always
good jokes
it's
too.
almost as good as watching like Saturday Night Live or something like that. So
Oh, are
they're
you gonna-
short little things.
Are you going to do the funny thing on this next one?
Oh, should I?
Yes. Okay. So
All right.
this next one is another tune that Charles wrote. The title is actually Hall of Fame, and it's about the hallowed halls of Bella Park High School, where two of my brothers
I don't know if I can do it.
are featured as, distinguished alumni.
I'm just gonna leave it like it is. I can't.
Okay. So we were going to do something silly and make us look like Elvis, but
I'm worried about interrupting.
Charles
your video.
doesn't want to.
Well,
No,
so our
cancel
silly
the
thing.
thing.
Our silly thing is our animal here, Janosch.
Yeah.
Affectionately named for Mary's
One of my
major
cello professors,
professor.
because the gorilla has good cello arms. I do. So this is just a sidebar. I've been doing a teaching through, video teaching, and it's fun to sort of hide the gorilla and see if the students can find him during their lesson in the frame. And he's done a couple of different things. We've had a couple of different stuffed animal guests for our lessons. But it's just a fun way to, to make the video thing a little more tasty.
And by the way, welcome to our cluttered music room. You can see music all back behind us. We've got a whole bunch of it. Okay, so this is Hall of Fame. It's a jig written for a couple of married brothers.
So, written for Carl and Andy,
Yep.
Hall of Famers at Bethel Park High School. Woohoo!
All right. It's a slow jig. And like a lot of my tunes, it's jumpy. This one jumps all over the place.
Hey, what are we
It goes
doing this?
really high.
2 times, right?
Yeah, 2 times through. Doom, ba, 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 ba. 1, 2, here. Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Woo. Next one.
Oh, Lady Heather.
Okay.
I wrote this actually for a former workmate, Tom, and his daughter, Heather, has become quite a blogger. I read her blogs, Heather Tomko, sometimes. So this is called Lady Heather's Reel. We've probably played this tune less than any, so apologies if it's not refined.
Yeesh, cop, stop doing that. Don't give it away.
Okay, here's Lady Heather's
Wait, are we
Reel.
doing this twice? Or just
Sure.
once? Or just do as written? 'Cause it's-
Yep.
Or twice.
Twice through.
Okay.
1, 2, here we go. Lady Heather's Reel.
Okay, Kelly. Here's one for you, Kelly.
Yeah, this one's for my cousin Kelly. And she'll get a giggle out of this one because she always gives me the giggles whenever she talks. She's very funny. But Kelly's been generous to us as well. So anyway, this tune is for Kelly, and it's called Slip of the Tongue. It is a slip jig, which means that it's in 9/8 instead of regular jig, which is in 6. It has a feel of 2. This has a feel of 3. But slip of the tongue.
One time with repeats.
One time through. 1, 2, 3. Slip of the tongue.
There are some neat accidentals in there. If you play an instrument, the accidentals are like when you say something and then you realize you should have not said that. I really like those accidentals. It's really neat. Compositional technique. Okay, what's next?
Okay, you don't have to listen to originals by me anymore.
Christina.
This one, this one is an Alistair Fraser tune that he did both the composition and arranging. I hear that he wrote this on the back, this melody on the back of a napkin for Christmas one time.
A Christmas cocktail.
And Haley, if you're listening, we played this for your wedding ceremony. This is called Christina. lot of fiddle tunes, especially from Alistair Fraser, for that tradition, don't end on a tonic chord. And Mary
That's
likes to
torture.
finish it.
It's torture.
Okay.
All right, Snowman is
Yeah.
next. Okay, so this is for Kurt. We had so several years ago, Charles and I and some friends made some CDs for fundraisers, and one of them was a Christmas CD, and it had this tune on it called "Walking in the Air," which is from, I remember the book. The book had no words, but it was called The Snowman. And I think there was a movie too.
There was.
Funny how the piece actually has words to it, which neither the book or the movie had words. I don't think. Anyway, I never
can't-
saw the movie.
I can't listen to this without thinking of like a Clint Eastwood western, isn't it? From The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Or
So
something.
so our friend Kirk really likes this one, and he's a good patron of our CDs,
And a good
and
running
music,
buddy.
and a good friend. So we're playing part of it. It's kind of long, so we're gonna play part of it.
And for anybody who started with the expectations, we intended on going for an hour. I think we've got maybe
We have
5
a-
more tunes or something like that.
Yeah.
They're
We're
short.
gonna go a little past an
Yeah,
hour.
we'll probably go 10, 15 minutes most.
If you need to go,
Obviously.
thank you for coming.
This is easy. No pressure anyway. Okay. So Walking in the Air from The Snowman.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I got 2 more originals to throw in. And then 2 other tunes after that, and we'll be done.
Okay. Zookeeper?
Yeah, this one's for Robbie and Brittany. Zookeeper's Waltz.
One time.
Yeah. 2, 3, 1. this summer. Wrote it on the dulcimer while sitting in my folks' place that I had just visited with Robbie and Brittany, and it made me think of a new tune. This one's from my friend Rob, who became a new grandfather this year. This is called The Captain's Grandson. 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, go. The Captain's Grandson. Well, and while talking about sailing captains, our next tune is called The Sailor's Wife. It's actually two tunes. It starts with starts with The Sailor's Wife, and it moves into The Lads of Duns. Another set that we got from Alistair Fraser and Natalie Haas. Shall we just jump into it?
Yeah, I just need to figure out my pages. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. work out.
In case you are wondering, my bow is not made of wood. So all of that percussive stuff I was doing with my bow, it's a carbon fiber bow. So I was not killing my bow in that one.
We really like these carbon fiber bows.
Yeah, they're great.
I say they play themselves, but I suppose they involve some user involvement.
Okay, so our last tune for our little concert here, appropriately enough, is called Ashokan Farewell. This was not written during the Civil War, contrary to popular belief.
As Ken Burns used it for the Civil War.
It was
series.
used in the Civil War series, but it was not written during the Civil War. It was written for a folk music festival.
Yeah, in Ashokan, New York.
So it was just, okay, Ashokan Festival, farewell.
I'm told all the fiddlers gather around in a circle and play this to say goodbye at the end of the week.
Yeah,
I haven't been there, but
I
that's
have
what
a
I hear.
personal feeling that if the composer were, if he had a cellist on hand, it would have been written for cello. It's supposed to be it just sounds better on cello. Anyway,
Well, we'll both get deleted.
my opinion, my unbiased opinion.
I will remain silent.
All right, so we're going to just play this once through. Thanks for coming, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment. I think it'll stay up on Facebook. We'll see. Technology. You know.
Thank you very much for watching and sort of inspiring us to do this. It
Hope
was
you
nice to have a goal to shoot for.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. We miss all of you.
Okay. Thanks very much.